How to get a clean photo? It's a question that's often asked online, and in this video I will share with you how to achieve just that. But before getting into details, it's worth understanding what do we actually mean by the term clean photo. Of course, this means different things to different people, but to me personally, it simply means a photo that lacks any visual distractions and it doesn't leave you scouring the scene trying to figure out what's going on. The focal point or the subject is bang in your face. Generally speaking, clean photos are often minimal by nature, and that comes to the editing, the composition, and what's in the scene itself. But we'll talk about all of these things throughout the video. The video is sponsored by Squarespace. I'll talk more about them later. And that's it, and let's get into the first point. A clean photo starts with a clean environment. Fundamentally, you want to be shooting in an area that is free of chaos, free of tons of visual distractions and lots of detail. You want to be finding areas that have loads of negative space, clean lines, and generally a minimal aesthetic. So for example, if you're in London, a clean area would be the City, it would be Bank, it would be Canary Wharf. They're modern areas with clean lines, negative space, and generally not much visual chaos. On the other hand, if you go to Shoreditch or Brick Lane, those areas, it's the total opposite. There's chaos, there's loads going on, there's loads of detail, and you'll find it much more difficult to get a clean shot. If we look at Tokyo, for instance, you have Ginza, which gives you that clean aesthetic, and then you have Shinjuku, for instance, that will give you a more chaotic aesthetic. Now, you don't necessarily need to shoot in a clean area to get a clean composition. For example, this particular shot that you're looking at now was taken in the middle of chaos in Venice. It can be done, it's just going to be a lot more difficult for you to find clean compositions within a messy scene. So start somewhere that's already pretty clean and pretty tidy, so to speak. Any lens can produce a clean photo. However, in my experience, a longer lens will probably be easier for you to create a clean shot because you can simply remove a ton of distractions and focus on intricate details within the scene. This is not exclusive, as I've just mentioned. You can use a wide angle lens like this shot in Venice to get a clean image. That was a 28mm lens, but typically if I want to shoot for clean minimal shots, I would use 50mm and above. Ideally 135mm will definitely prove easier to get clean shots compared to something that's on the wider end. If you're struggling with getting clean compositions, I would say start with a longer lens first, and then as you improve over time, then start to go wider. But of course, as you go wider, it will become a bit more difficult, but that's the whole point. Light plays a crucial role in getting a clean shot. Now, typically I would shoot all my subjects backlit or at sometimes light coming from the side. However, to get a clean photo, you don't necessarily need to stick to just one type of lighting. You can work with flat lighting, as in lighting coming from behind you, and evenly lighting your subject. It just depends on where you are and what's going on. For example, if there is a lot of clutter, then you can use backlighting to create a lot of natural contrast, and most of that clutter will fall into shadow, and then that's one way of cleaning up the scene. On the other hand, if you have very simple shapes, loads of negative space, and generally speaking an already clean environment, then using front lighting or flat lighting, that can actually emphasize the cleanliness of the scene, whereas using a backlighting technique on that particular scene will actually do more harm than good. I'd like to take a moment and thank Squarespace for sponsoring this video. I've been using Squarespace for over 5 years as my online photography portfolio, where I share my best work from all the trips and shoots. Having an online portfolio is important because it's your little corner of the internet that you can arrange however you like. I would also encourage everyone to start an online blog about their photography. Having a blog is the best way for your website to stay relevant on Google because there's fresh content always being uploaded. Not to mention, it's a great way for your website to become more searchable through SEO. Squarespace offers powerful blogging tools that will allow you to publish blogs from anywhere on any device. Squarespace also offers powerful analytics that help you understand where your readers are coming from and what they're searching for. If you're an aspiring photographer, having your own website is important because it will elevate you from everyone else. For a free trial followed by 10% off your first purchase, please use the link in the description or use code RomanFox when you check out. Thank you for Squarespace for sponsoring, and thank you for watching. Composition is by far the most important element because fundamentally composition is what you include in the frame and what you exclude and how you include it. I've made a bunch of videos going into detail on composition, but in this video I will touch on only the most relevant topics. The first thing is you want to be looking for negative space. You want to avoid looking for scenes with lots of intricate detail because intricate detail adds complexity, adds more visual elements, and that's exactly what you're trying to avoid. So look for clean negative space. It could be the sky, it could be the pavement, it could be the side of a truck, it could be a wall. There are many elements which lack detail that you will come across in the city. Look for those and use them as anchor points to start building the composition from there. Other things you can do is look for strong leading lines. A strong leading line will direct the viewer's eye quicker to the focal point or the subject. But my personal favorite compositional technique is to use foreground elements and to effectively shoot through something. You can use foreground elements to block certain parts of the scene which are messy and just leave the cleaner parts of the scene where the subject is. So for instance, this photo from Lisbon from about a year ago, there was lots of noise and I wanted to get rid of it. So what I've done is I used the tree to just mask that whole part of the image. There was a bin, there was rubbish, there's all sorts of stuff. So the image has become a lot cleaner and a lot more simple and minimal by doing that. To achieve a clean image, avoid creating a color salad. What I mean by that is when you're out shooting, look for 1 or 2 primary colors in your frame. Avoid trying to get every single color on the rainbow in your shot because at the end of the day, that's just going to create more distraction and more noise. Pick 1 main color, maybe 1 more secondary color, maximum 3, but personally I like to just stick with 2 colors and work with that. Avoid shooting a ton of different colors and shades and all that because it's just going to mess things up. And finally, we're on to editing. As I've said in many videos before, editing should be used as a way to enhance your image and not to fix it. So by now, I hope you have a photo which is already clean and minimal, and now we can exaggerate it. The first editing tip I can give you when it comes to creating a clean image is to work with the natural contrast that you have. If you have an image which has very high natural contrast, perhaps you were shooting a pocket of light, then work with that. Don't try to create a HDR image by dropping the highlights, boosting the shadows, because that's going to create a muddy and messy look. Equally, if your image is already very washed out, perhaps midday in an open area, avoid trying to boost the contrast artificially because that's going to create a very noisy, very kind of scrunched up look that's far from clean. Another thing you can do is use the clone tool or the remove or the patch or the heal tool to clean up the scene by getting rid of cigarette butts, rubbish, chewing gum on the floor, stray reflections, the odd spotlight somewhere that's creating a distraction, and anything that just messes up the scene. Now, I know some people view this quite negatively. My personal opinion is that if you're taking photos for the purpose of journalism, for the purpose of documenting a particular scene, event, period of time as accurately as possible, then yeah, you shouldn't remove it, you should leave it as it is. However, if you're doing photography as an art form, then yeah, do as you please. And the final editing tip is less is more. Just because Lightroom has 50, 60, 100 different sliders, it doesn't mean you need to use every single one of them. Only edit up to a point where you're happy with the image. If it means you're not applying any clarity or grain or light rays or any other stuff, that's good. You don't need to apply every single edit. I've seen people who would literally adjust every single parameter just because it's there, and sooner or later that can create a bit of a muddy and unpleasant result. So keep your editing to a minimum. Hopefully you've managed to get most of it in camera anyway, and that's about it. I hope you found this video useful. These are just some top of the head things that I can think of that I do. But if you have any of your own methods that you use to create a clean image, please share them in the comment section, because I'd like to learn something else, and I'm sure many others would as well. That's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.